الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله وحبيبه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله والأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا. Well, I'm very pleased to be here. This was my first visit to Manchester. It was night. I didn't get a chance to see anything, but I'm really happy to be here. Always look forward to being in this city. And I'm also pleased to begin my talk talking about the spiritual significance of Karbala and the spiritual significance of the number 40 in Islam, especially because we are here on the occasion of Arbaeen. When we talk or we read about the struggle and the epic of Karbala, such an event, such a spiritual event, cannot just be seen from the eyes of sociology, cannot just be seen from the eyes of politics. You know, some of our Wahhabi friends would look at it as just a struggle between different people vying for power. It has to be seen in a much wider context, a much deeper context. And especially when we see, for example, the Epic of Karbala generating tremendous acts of historical significance, like we found in the Islamic Republic, the revolution, the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979, and also the victory of the Lebanese resistance against Zionist aggression. We see that Karbala and what happened in Karbala on this particular level is something that has a power and an influence way beyond the actual events that took place over 1,000 years ago. But this is only the superficial aspect. We could approach history, especially the history of events in Karbala and so forth, Badr, Uhud, and so on. We could approach history from 2 points of view, basically. And this is especially related to religious history. We could approach history as the study or as the memory of things that have gone in the past, things that have happened in the past. We could approach history like this. You know, we could talk about the Spanish Armada, we could talk about the Battle of Trafalgar, and so forth. And these things have happened in the past and they're gone. Maybe, let's say naval strategy, they would study that and apply things that they might have learned from it. Okay, maybe. But for most of us who are in school, who don't want to be historians, who don't want to join the military, for example, this is something that went on in the past and is over forgotten. It's very important because there are some people who ask us, you know, why are you commemorating something that happened 1,000 years ago? All right? It's not happening today. Why are you bothering with it? This is somebody who's looking at it from the point of view of that type of history. The crystallization of events that took place in the past that we study, but is not taking place now. Then there's another aspect of history, which is what we would call meta-history. Meta-history. And meta, like the word trans, means beyond. It means going beyond just that time. It means that it has two levels of meaning. Okay? Because there are some people who know about meta history, but they see it on one level of meaning. The first level of meaning is that what happened at that time is a reflection of what happens at all times. So wherever in the world you look, you will see, for example, tyrants and heroes. Tyrants who want to take away people's rights and freedoms, take away people's liberty, take away people's wealth, take away people's honor. You have tyrants like this, and you have people who want to stand up to these tyrants. And you have sometimes, many times, the forces of the tyrant is much more powerful than the forces at the hands of those who want to stand up against them, but these people eventually win or they die. This is meta history. So and every time you look in the struggle between right and wrong, good and evil, oppressor and oppressed, you find certain characteristics that you would find in Karbala, you would find them there on the battlefield in the time that you live. So on this level, what we are called upon to do, what we are necessarily find ourselves doing, is looking in our history, looking in our contemporary history, and trying to find Hussein's, trying to find Yazid's, trying to find Shimr's, trying to find the Ahl Kufa, trying to find all these different elements in the society that come together to form this particular struggle. Then there's a higher level than this. And that level is our personal reaction when it comes to being challenged or being called upon to stand up for justice. That's another higher level. On that level, we now become the actors on the stage of Karbala. We now become Abbasis. We now become Husseins. We now become Zainabs. And by the way, these are not gender specific. All right? So you could be a man, 100% man, but perform a Zainabiya function. Or you could be a woman, and you can perform the Abbasi function. Okay? It doesn't have to be a man to have an Abbasi function. And indeed, you find that in the 21st century, the people who are in the role of Abbas in our societies are not men usually, but are women. And why is this? This is because when you're on the battlefield, there is always, especially in traditional war, there was always the standard bearer. There was always the flag bearer. The flag bearer was the one that gave the rest of the troops confidence, that perked up their resolve. As long as that flag kept flying, the troops knew that they were not being defeated. The troops knew that they were advancing. The troops knew that they were reacting and struggling against the enemy. When the flag fell, the heart of the troops would fall, because it would mean defeat. It would mean that the flag has fallen. So you'd find that, for example, in a battle, there was always somebody willing and ready to take that flag. Even today, you find in a lot of military operations, there are flags, right? So you'd find that somebody is always here to pick that flag up. It's very, very important, because if that flag has fallen, it has a negative effect upon the morale of the troops. So the flag bearer was the person who was supposed to be the strongest, because the enemies are looking for him. The enemies want to take him out, that's for sure. So the flag bearer would be the strongest, would be the most valiant, would be the most courageous, would be the one who can take most of the blows and keep on moving. This was the flag bearer. When we ask ourselves today in this society, who bears the flag of Islam? Something outward, something that is open for people to see. I would say it is the woman who is wearing hijab. Because all of us brothers, look at us right now, okay? All of us, and me too, when I leave here and I go downtown, I don't wear this, okay? All of us, apart from our beards, if we have any, okay, don't look any different to people outside. But the woman with the hijab, she looks different. And if you read all the Islamophobic articles and so forth against Islam, you realize that they have a special hatred for hijab. Anybody who comes into this country is surprised at how many Muslims are in this country. How would you know so many Muslims are in this country? You know, unless you're wearing, a Haji cap and, a long dasha or a long shirt. How do you know? What they usually mean is that they are seeing hijabis all over the place. So the hijabi is the standard bearer of Islam. And because they're the standard bearers of Islam, they are usually in the front lines. Wherever you find them, that's where you find the conflict. This is where you find people attacking Islam. This is where people would come up to them and say to themselves, why are you wearing this? What's this about Islam? And so forth and so on. Okay, they don't come up to you because you look like anybody else. Okay, you look Jewish, you look, I don't know, Sikh, you look like whatever, but you don't look Muslim. Okay, because you look just like them. But the hijabi, that's a different story. So here we find a situation where women are put into a masculine type of role. Masculine not in terms of gender, but masculine in terms of quality. Masculine in terms of characteristic. Okay? And I don't mean that it's not appropriate to them. That's not true. Because if all of us have had experiences with our mothers, we know our mothers relate to us in a very masculine way. Come here, boy. Sit down. Eat your food. Okay? That's ordering you. Okay? So you have that element in them. Okay? And so you find women in that particular situation. All right? We're talking about meta-history here. Now, what should be our reaction to this? You see, because our understanding of history should also inform us as to how to behave on this contemporary stage of history. Well, our standard bearers used to be strong. Our standard bearers were the ones who were the first ones to defend Islam. Are our sisters prepared, or are we preparing our sisters to defend Islam? When we say strong, we don't necessarily mean being able to fight physically. And in fact, I do encourage us to encourage our daughters to learn how to fight physically. Because I don't want anybody coming up behind my daughter and trying to snatch her hijab off her head. I would rather her be able to take that person's head off himself. Not literally, of course. I'm not Daesh. Okay? But they should be able to defend themselves. They should be trained for that. Brothers, don't worry. They won't beat you up at home. That's a part of their psyche. But you have to train them for this. You have to train them. The majority of attacks against them are verbal attacks. Okay? And I don't mean just insulting. I mean challenging. And so our sisters have to be prepared to defend Islam. Do we have courses like this for them? Do we have programs like this for them? What if somebody tells you X? What if somebody tells you why are you letting men let you wear hijab or force you to wear hijab? How do you respond to that? Why do you believe in Islam? Such a misogynistic and oppressive and bloodthirsty religion. How do you defend yourself against that? Why don't you become a Christian? How do you react to that? We have to train our daughters to be able to do that. We can't just say to them, oh, my dear daughter, now you reach the age of 9, now it's time to put on hijab. Yeah, you look beautiful, nice, bah, and go on out there to the wolves. No, they are the standard bearers of Islam. So on another level, on a personal level, we tend to fall into one or other of the characters that have been found in Karbala. So every time we are ready to stand up for the truth, whatever the truth is, at risk of personal injury or loss, we are functioning in a Husseini paradigm. Every time we are prepared to aid those who are standing up for truth, we are functioning in an Abbasi paradigm. Every time we are prepared to disseminate the truth and the struggle that has been going forth, every time we're prepared to make a movie about the truth, every time we're prepared to write a blog about the truth, every time we're prepared to have a radio interview about the truth, we are doing a Zainabiyya paradigm. Every time we are for the truth, we know what the truth is, but we are afraid to stand up for it because of threats to our lives, to our welfare in society, we are following an Ahl Kufa paradigm. And so you would find that in all of us, we tend to fluctuate between one or the other, depending on the situation that we are in. And the task of the soul is to be a nafs al-mutma'inna. The soul that is at rest, the soul that is at peace or in tranquility, in certitude. And you are so certain about what you believe in that standing up for the truth and facing the consequences have absolutely no effect upon you. Outside of that, we fluctuate. In one situation, we are like Ahl Kufa. In another situation, we are like Imam Hussein. And in some situations, we are like Shimr. Whenever we kill our conscience, whenever that good part of our soul tries to tell us, no, you're wrong, you tell it to shut up, and you suppress it, you are being a Shimr. So this is another level of the metaphysical or the meta-historical reality of Karbala. That we have to ask ourselves, where am I in this struggle here right now? And it need not be only something quote-unquote religious. Because truth is truth. It's not about just simply defending Islam. It's about defending truth. And this is where we fall short. You know, in the Middle East, for example, they got what we call nepotism. Lots of it. Nepotism. Nepotism means putting your family and your friends in positions of responsibility and getting an income and so forth, when the main criterion for their suitability for this particular post is not their merit, it's not their training, it's not their skill, but their relationship to you. Now when we look back in Islamic history, we have a model for that. And it is called the Bani Umayyah. Or the Bani Umayyah, where they put people in power, not because of their skill, but because of their relationship. Because of their relationship to a tribe. So here we have Shias. I used to love to bother them in Iran about this. You know, here we have Shias. And I said to them, well, yeah, you're Shia, but in terms of your managerial style, you're Bani Umayyah. Through and through. And then we want to talk about things like temporary marriage or muta. They're like Omar. Because they hate it so much. So what emerges is that it becomes very clear to us that there's a big difference between being a member of a denomination. A big difference between being a member of a denomination, you're born a Shia, your parents are Shias, you combine your prayers and so forth and so on. Big difference. You cry for Imam Hussein. Big difference between that and what your true personality is. And you have to remember that your true personality is on the basis of that we will be resurrected on the day of judgment. Who we are on the inside, not who we are on the outside. Yes, salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family. So we move into the internal struggle in terms of that meta-history. Not only are we on the stage of the social aspect, the social struggle, but we are also on the stage of the internal struggle. That in ourselves, there is this total war taking place. This is what Karbala tells us. It's a total war. Okay? It's not a guerrilla war. It's not a fragmentary war. It's a total war between the forces of good and the forces of evil in our souls. And if we consider ourselves to be the forces of good, we have to be able to evaluate ourselves and ask ourselves, among these forces of good, which one am I? And what aspect of my own personality, my own self, leads me to do evil, to try to defeat those forces of good in my soul in order for me to overcome that and to be able to be good on a complete level. Now, on the outside, it seems that Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions, just speaking in a kind of objective manner, that they lost because they all got killed. But the reality on the outside is what they try to show us is that the spiritual aspect could never be defeated. The reality of it on the level of truth could never be defeated. That a person could lose their lives for the truth. And that truth, by the virtue of the fact that you have lost your life for it, that you've given your life for it, that life that you have given nurtures and waters that truth. So that other people are inspired by it. And that's a much higher victory than a victory where you actually overcome in a physical combat. So on the level of meta-history, the struggle in Karbala is a spiritual one. And it must necessarily be so. And we have parallels to this in the Holy Quran. Because if, for example, the war at Badr and the war at Uhud and Hunayn and so forth were just simply physical wars that took place between people some time past, then those verses will not be relevant to us. But the whole Quran is supposed to be relevant to us. Why? Because those verses are actually talking about something much deeper. Something that took place on the outside, but it reflects the reality in the souls of human beings on the inside. So on that general level, Karbala teaches us spirituality. It teaches us how to deal with outward loss. So that those of us, when we are faced with loss in this world, we always remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions who lost or gave up everything. And so we ask ourselves, am I really suffering? Is this the suffering that I could have, that I cannot bear? Is this suffering, this minor suffering, something that would compromise me if I was in the plains of Karbala? Why am I crying because, I don't know, of some minor thing? Why am I crying because I'm ill? Why am I crying because I messed up an exam? Why am I crying because I didn't get this job? Why am I crying because my spouse left me? Why am I crying because of this? Or why am I crying because of that? Isn't it worse to be shot with arrows and to fall off your horse with arrows going deeper inside of your body? After I've seen all my beloved, the most beautiful people of all humanity slaughtered in front of my eyes? Is the suffering I'm going through equal to that? This helps give us spiritual strength to be able to stand up and to be strong and to keep going. And we've seen the consequences of that. That Israel, with all its might and all its power and all its atomic weapons and so forth, was not able to defeat a part-time army. Part-time army. These guys weren't full-time soldiers. They were teachers by day and fighters by night. And they were able to defeat one of the most powerful armies in the world. Why? Because they saw themselves on the plains of Karbala. You know, I have to be careful what I say. I don't have to call names and stuff like that. But the leader, right, was known to have said, you look at our martyrs and see how they got shot. And they all got shot from the front. You see, look at the Israeli martyrs. You look at the Israeli casualties, and you see they were shot from behind. They were running away. Whereas our people were facing the enemy and were not afraid of them. In fact, we were welcoming martyrdom. Now, this is the type of attitude that we have to take with our own spiritual and characterological deficiencies. One of the most important steps on the Islamic path is to be able to do what is called muhasabah. At the end of every day, you evaluate yourself honestly and objectively and see what kind of person you had been that day. Was I a coward? Was I brave? Was I self-sacrificing? Was I selfish? Was I in control of my emotions and my feelings? Or did I let them take control of me? Was I generous or was I stingy? What kind of person am I? And the kind of person you find yourself to be, it definitely will be a combination of good points and bad points. You thank Allah for the good points, and you ask Allah for repentance, you ask Allah for forgiveness for your bad points, and you resolve to change it. And this is a path of spiritual perfection. Give salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family. One very, very important aspect of the spiritual path is that anytime you embark upon the spiritual path, the first thing you have to do is to do tawbah. The first thing you have to do is to do tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu tubu ila Allah tawbatan nasuhan. Asa rabbukum ay yukaffira ankum sayyi'atikum wa yadkhilukum jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. Allah says, O you who believe, turn to Allah with sincere repentance. Maybe your Lord will absolve you of your misdeeds and admit you into gardens within which rivers flow. This garden in which rivers flow, we tend to think of it only in terms of Jannah. We tend to think of it only in terms of paradise. It reminds me of a story about Imam Jawad alayhi salam. Where someone came to him and saw him living in the most Spartan conditions. Spartan means, rough, no luxury, difficult, a straw mat on the floor where he slept, and so forth and so on. And said to him, you Imam, how come you live like this? You're the Imam of the Shia. You should be living a little more comfortable. And the Imams used to have this power of being able to open your basira, open your eyes of intuition, of seeing the reality. And he passed his hand in front of this man's face, and he saw himself in paradise. The whole room turned into paradise. And this is where he was all the time. This is where he was all the time. Right now, we are in paradise or we are in hell. Right now, right at this very moment. There are many hadiths that say this. It is only when you die, the veil is removed, and you see exactly where you are. So when we say that the result, when the Holy Quran says that the result of Tawbah is gardens underneath which rivers flow, it means something for us in this world. It means that you are able to access the worldly equivalents, the worldly reflections of these things. The knowledge, the wisdom, the nearness to God, the contentment, all of these things that are associated with paradise, you're able to access them here just by tawbah. What describes Jannah? What's the most fundamental thing that describes Jannah? Jannah is that state of existence that is closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's Jannah. The state of existence that is closest to Allah. And so when we do tawbah, it brings us close to Allah. There's a very, very interesting hadith by the Holy Prophet, and many, many hadith like this. I would call it anthropomorphic hadith. Anthropomorphic means it has a certain type of human flavor in it, but it is used by God to give a human being an idea of how important tawbah is, how Allah loves tawbah. There's a hadith by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says, لله أفره بتوبة عبده من الأقيم الوالد من الضال الواجد ومن الضمان الوارد. He says Allah rejoices. This idea of rejoice, don't think of it in terms of Allah was not rejoicing at one time and he changed at another time. Allah does not change in state. Okay, but we'll explain this a little more. Allah rejoices for the repentance of his servant more than the barren person, more than the sterile person rejoices at having a child. You know, there are some women and some men who are unable to have children. This is their worst worry. This is something that makes them feel so bad, makes them feel so inadequate. Okay? Imagine that person having a child, how rejoicing they will be, how happy they will be. Because Allah is more rejoicing, happier than that type of person. He is happier or rejoices more than the lost person who finds his way. And rejoicing more than the thirsty person at finding water. These three examples indicate situations where human beings are the most in despair, are the most worried, are the most concerned. And that when this concern is removed, they're the most happy. It says Allah rejoices more than this. What does it mean by rejoice? And this is used many times. Rejoice does not mean being happy like us. However, indeed, all of our positive experiences go back to Allah. So if we love, Allah loves. But Allah is love. This rejoicing is really related to the name of Allah, which is At-Tawwab, or another name which is Al-Ghafur. Names like these, like Al-Khaliq for example, are related to activities of Allah, acts of Allah in the world of creation. So for example, Allah is Al-Khaliq, He's always Al-Khaliq. But what is Al-Khaliq? Al-Khaliq is the one who creates things, creates outside. And so you will find then that if Allah is Al-Khaliq, one aspect of the manifestation or the realization of His creativity is the existence of a thing that He has created. And so Allah is Al-Ghafur. He's Al-Ghafur. And in a divine sense, not in terms of external pressure or anything like that, in a divine sense, Allah needs to be who He is. He can only be who He is. And if He's Al-Ghafur, there must be somebody who has committed a sin for Him to forgive. Somebody asked Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. He asked him, he said, what if a human being could not sin? What if a human being could not sin? He said Allah would create a being that can. And we have our Imams. We have the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They themselves ask Allah for forgiveness. They themselves ask Allah for forgiveness. And why is this? We know them as Ma'asum. They didn't commit any sin. Why do they ask Allah for forgiveness? They ask Allah for forgiveness because sins are of two kinds. Sins are of the kind of omission, right? Where you, not to omit, all right? Yes, of course it's omit, yes, I'm sorry. Of omission, which means you're not doing something that you are supposed to do, all right? For example, you don't pray, that's a sin. Okay, it's a sin of omission, all right? You don't tell the truth, that's a sin. It's a sin of omission. And there are sins of commission, sins where you commit, sins that you commit, you do something, you kill somebody, you tear up a Quran, you prevent somebody from praying. These are sins of commission. There are two kinds of sin. When it comes to the Imams and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, it is largely sins of omission. Activities that they have done, but they have not done enough of. That they haven't done enough of. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam is reported to have said to Allah, "O Allah, how can I praise you? How can I praise you? When the very breath that I use to praise you, you have given to me. How can I praise you? Whatever praise that comes out of my mouth is not sufficient. It's a sin of omission. I can't do it. I can't get there. Please forgive me for this." So there's no being at all who is not outside Allah's forgiveness as Al-Ghafur. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he asked Allah for forgiveness 70 times every day. Somebody came up to the Saint Rabia, and he says, I want to get on the spiritual path." She was a very important Irfani saint. And she says, "Well, don't sin." He said, "I haven't sinned." She said to him, "You yourself is sin." You yourself is sin. You know why you're sin? Because you're not God. And therefore, if you're not God, you're not absolutely pure. And if you're not absolutely pure, then you sin. You ask Allah for forgiveness for that. So Tawbah is the first level that we have to approach. And the commentators on Quran who talk about nusuh from the verse Tubu ila Allah tawbatan nasuhan, they say that this tawbah should not be merely one where you desire paradise or you try to get away from hell. No, that this tawbah should be a genuine dislike for what you have done. A genuine dislike for what you have done. And they also say that this repentance must be so profound, that people who have known you to behave in a certain way will be surprised, will be shocked. They will see a big difference in your behavior on the outside. And if your tawbah is for something private, you yourself would be surprised at your change from this. You yourself would say, "I'm a different person. I'm not that person anymore." This is the profundity of this particular tawbah. But you have to get to know yourself. You have to know yourself in order to be able to get to that. When you get to that particular level, then you are turning towards Allah. Because tawbah from taba means to turn towards. Allah is a tawwab. Why is it tawwab? Because many times, whatever we do is reflected in Allah. So you turn to Allah, Allah turns to you. You turn away from Allah, Allah turns away from you. But that turning away by Allah is not one of complete rejection. It's only for when you get to hell, that's where that happens. That turning away of Allah is one where He's waiting for you to turn back to Him. There's a very interesting hadith by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is talking about Hazrat Dawood. When you read hadith that talk about Hazrat Dawood or Hazrat Isa, they're usually Irfani type of hadith, you know. And it is said, Allah says to Hazrat Dawood, O Dawood, if the person who has turned away from me know how much I wait for them, I wait for them in love, their limbs will shatter out of love for me. And if that is the case for those who have turned away from me, how can we talk about those who have turned towards me? Because those who turn towards Allah are those who are characterized by a couple of things. One is characterized by doing which He commands us to do, the wajibat, and two, by us doing more than the wajibat, the mustahabat, and the supererogatory prayers and so forth to get close to Him. And so you have the other hadith where it says, my servant, hadith Qudsi, where Allah says, my servant does not cease to approach me through the wajibat and the mustahabat and the supererogatory acts of worship until I love Him. And this is what we want. We want Allah to love us. And when I love that person, I become the eyes by which they see. I become the ears by which they hear, the tongue by which they speak, the hands by which they act, and the feet by which they walk. When we think of love, love is the movement to merge oneself with the beloved. That is love. Love is when you forget yourself completely and you're thinking about the beloved. That is love. If I was in love right now and I was sitting in the audience, you wouldn't be hearing anything I say because your mind is on the beloved. So it's a loss of self into the beloved. Allah is saying that I make you lose yourself. I become you, or you become me. You see with my eyes. You hear with my ears. You speak with my tongue. You act with my hands. You walk with my feet. And that type of person is able to see solutions to problems that nobody else can. That type of person is able to act in a way that is much more efficient and much more effective than anybody else. And with this, I want to go into the whole idea of 40. Give salawat to the Prophet Muhammad and his family.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
In the spiritual path, the next level of spiritual wayfaring, or they would call it Seyr Suluk, is the whole idea of 40. Because 40 is a number that reflects the actualization of spiritual potential. So you have a hadith where it says, whoever makes themselves sincere for Allah for 40 days, the fountains of wisdom will emerge from their heart onto their tongue. Whoever makes themselves sincere to Allah for 40 days. What does sincerity mean? It means, first of all, you have to have ikhlas. Very good ikhlas. And you also are doing something for 40 days that takes you to a particular level. Because 40 is the number by which, in terms of spiritual practice, you get to a particular maqam. In spiritual practices, you have two levels. You have what is called hal, and you have what is called maqam. Hal is, for example, what many of us sometimes get in occasionally. You know, so one day you're praying, and when you finish praying, you're like, wow, you know, this was the best prayer I've ever had. You've had that, you know, okay? okay? Or for example, in the month of Ramadan, one of the days of Ramadan, you know, you just get this spiritual feeling of satisfaction and wonder at how you have been in that particular situation. If you have not, go pursue it. Try to pursue it. The other level is a maqam. A maqam is when you reach this level of spirituality, you never move from that. You never fall from that. Okay? And the word 40, the concept of 40 is used for this. So for example, if, let's say, on this level of sincerity, you decide that, okay, I would like to reach a spiritual maqam, let's say by praying for 40 nights, praying Salatul Layl for 40 nights, okay? You get to that particular maqam. And what it says is that from your tongue, wisdom will flow. Wisdom will flow from a place you don't know. In other words, you'll be talking and you'll be going, wow, did I say that? Okay? You know, you'd be reading, you'd be researching, and your mind would open up with insights that you didn't even know you had existing. This is because of that particular practice. And so the sages and the urafa, you know, they would say that if, for example, after that 40, you did not reach where you were supposed to reach, then you should do another 40 again. And you have 40 as something, you know, being constantly repeated in, you know, Islamic teachings. You have, for example, a hadith where it says Allah kneaded the body of Adam from the clay for 40 days and 40 nights, you know, until it was ready, for example. We have, for the idea of the year of the age, arriving at the age 40, meaning the heights of our, you know, adult potential. Okay, after 40, you are getting ready for the grave. You have, for example, you know, Moses going up to the mountain and ending up there for 40 days. All right, you have that particular aspect as well. You know, we have the flood of Hazrat Nuh that lasted for 40 days. All of these things talk about what? It talks about transformation. It talks about taking a person or persons or peoples to a higher level, a maqam, a state that is permanent. Now when we have, for example, people dying and we commemorate their Arbaeen, this Arbaeen talks about what? Talks about them achieving a complete separation from the earth. Them now being on another level. Evolutionary level. Yes, evolution does exist. Not in this particular world necessarily, but in terms of the evolution of our souls. All of us, when we die, we evolve into something higher. All of us, good and bad. Just the bad people experience that higher level as something painful. Look at us as adults. Okay, all of us as adults. You know, we are adults. We find pleasure in many more sophisticated things than children. A child would find a pleasure in food, or in candy, or in a toy. But as adults, we find pleasure in things like knowledge, in things like good relationships, in things like, for example, I don't know, cell phone, you know, on all kinds of different levels. You see, we are more complex. And so therefore, we suffer more than kids. A kid will cry because they lost their toy, and another toy comes into their presence, and they forget about crying, and they continue. You know? But us, no. We are more advanced. It means that we can suffer more. It means that we can even be more happy. Okay? You see? It's the same thing with the soul. When your soul leaves your body, it doesn't degenerate. It doesn't go into the form of an animal or anything like that. It becomes a higher soul. But that higher soul, if it is from a person who was evil, that higher soul will experience that evil. Or if that higher soul was from somebody that was good, that higher soul will experience good. Give salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, 40 is a very important number. I think it's something that we should try to remember. Okay? this idea of numbers in terms of development and so forth is not just something specific to Islam. It is also found in psychology. But they say, they talk about the number 120. You need 120 days to practice something for it to be part of your nature. Okay? So you want to quit smoking, right? You need 120 days of not smoking, and you become a non-smoker. Or for example, you have a short temper, you need 120 days of practicing, calmness in the face of troubles, and so you control your temper. So you have that particular situation in psychology. But from the Islamic point of view, in terms of spirituality, that 40 is a very good number. So you want to achieve a maqam, first of all, you need to be sincere. You need to be sincere. You need to love your Islam. You need to love Allah. You need to have this great desire to be a good person. And then you can embark upon this. You want to be generous, because you're stingy, you practice generosity for 40 days. You want to be Ahle Salatul Layl, okay? You practice that for 40 days, and you will become that. And if you haven't, then you do another 40 days. There's a very interesting hadith that talks about our responsibility to our neighbors. It says, for example, hadith by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says, Jibreel advised me so much about the rights of the neighbor that I was afraid that he would make my neighbor a person who could inherit from me. So important was the neighbor. And when it is asked, to what extent is your neighbor? It says 40 houses in each direction. 40 houses in each direction. The Urafa have interpreted this not only in terms of people actually living up to 40 houses away from you, but also those 4 directions mean 4 dimensions of the soul. One dimension is the act. The other is the waham. The other is shahwa. And the other is qadam. The act, you have to take care of your act. You have to take care of your act. You have to preserve your act. The more you get into materialism, the more you get into hedonism, the more you indulge yourself in things that don't matter, the more you involve in things that have bad akhlaq, you are not dealing and you're not taking care of those neighbors that are 40 in that particular direction. The more you don't study, the more you don't read, because Islam is a boundless sea of knowledge. So if you call yourself sincere, you need to be pursuing that boundless sea of knowledge. You need to be drinking from that sea of knowledge every day. If you say, I don't have time, I'm working too hard and stuff like that, you're not sincere. Okay? That 40 is not going to do anything for you. Where the wahm is concerned, wahm is something that people can't understand. It's not something I think exists in the English language. So I invented a word for wahm. So if you hear it from anybody else, it's mine. Okay? Has a copyright on it. I call it the delusive imagination. The delusive imagination. Delusion? Anybody here in psychology, read psychology? Delusion is, right? A delusion is a hallucination. It's a figment of your imagination, okay, that you think is real. And that you treat as real. So if I was sitting here and I just look right here and says, leave me alone, and I continue talking to you, right? It means that I think that this fictional person in my mind is real. This movie, A Beautiful Mind, I think it was it. Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, right? Talked about a man who had delusions, all right? And he had to deal with this, all right? This is a delusion. And your imagination creates that delusion in your mind. A certain type of imagination in your mind that creates a delusion. Okay, I'll give you a good example of wahm. You watch one too many vampire movies, right? It's fake. It's not real. Okay, you just watch one too many of them, and somebody says to you, look, I have a dead body in the house. I can't stay because I have to do something. Could you start come in the house and watch this person for me, stay with them, you know, until I get back? And you say, okay, you go into that room and you get scared. You're afraid. You're completely terrified. You know that person is dead. You know that person can't do anything, all right? But because your mind, your wham, that aspect of your imagination is so afraid, is so focused on this, it creates a false reality for you. Okay? So one day you look at the body and you could swear it did its head like that. Okay? This is wham. You know? Or my kids, right? One of the problems with my kids was a lot. You know, we had you know, one of those, we call it a coat tree. You know, one of those freestanding things where you hang clothes on. Okay? One in the bedroom. You turn on the light, good night, guys, you go to bed, they come out crying. Why? The coat thing moved. Right? This is why. But wow could be not just that crazy, it could be even more subtle. Okay? For example, let's say a man doesn't trust his woman, he doesn't trust his wife, okay, for some strange reason. Okay? She gets a phone call from a mother. The mother wants to ask her something very private. She says, oh, hi. She doesn't say hi, mom. She says hi. And she goes to another room. He starts getting wahmi. Who is he? You can imagine, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. When she comes back into the room, he's a changed person. He's angry, he wants to fight, and so forth and so on. This is wahm. Wahm could be scientific. Wahm could be scientific. I look at creatures, and I come up to a monkey. I say, wait a minute. That monkey has a thumb, like me. Has a head, has legs, arms. Okay, so maybe we came from monkeys. That's wahm. Okay, you have no proof for that. None. But it's wahm. You know, you look out to the ocean, and you see the ocean is flat, you see the earth is flat. What's on the other side? I don't know, but it's got to be some kind of waterfall. Okay? This is wahm. And so you have to be able to deal with that wahm. Especially when it comes to, for example, dealing with things like suspicion among people. Right? You don't trust your kid. You don't trust your wife. You don't trust your husband. You don't trust your friend. Why? Because it did something, and you take that very little thing, and you plug that into your delusive imagination, and you create a whole reality in your mind, and you act according to it. This is why. So you got to deal with that neighbor. You have to deal with that neighbor. You know, and you always deal with that neighbor by being prepared for him to show up in your head. Shahwa, this is the other neighbor. 40 houses down. Shahwa. Now, our shahwa, people treat shahwa as something bad. And I say, yeah, if it's bad, you wouldn't be here today. Right? There's nothing wrong with shahwa. Okay? What's wrong with shahwa is when you misapply shahwa. When you give your shahwa, or you let your shahwa be expressed for things that it should not be expressed about. Whether it be for other people or for things. And you deviate from that straight middle path. And so many of us indulge in things. We indulge in things because it fulfills our shahwa. We indulge in food, we indulge in TV watching, we indulge in texting. Oh my God. Okay? We indulge in, for example, one of the biggest problems of shahwa, this is another joke I used to make in poem. You know, the biggest shahwa of ulama was books. There's shahwa for books. You go on the road, I had it myself. You go on the street, you see a book, oh yeah, like so and so, I gotta have that book. I have to have that book. You know, you bring it in your house, you put it on your shelf, you don't read it. Okay? But I just gotta have him on my shelf. This is shahwa. This is wasting your energies. So you have to be able to pay attention to that. You have to tell yourself, I'm going to cut down my relationship or my dependency upon that particular thing. These are all part of muhasabah. of looking at ourselves. How much time do I spend upon activities in my life? How many of these activities are useful? How many of these activities, when I say useful, I mean useful to my spirituality, useful to my development? How many of them? And then you start cutting them down, and this leads to self-discipline. And then there's ghadab, or anger. And again, ghadab is not something bad. Ghadab is something very important for our survival on the earth. Ghadab is something, on an akhlaqi level, ghadab is that force we have in ourselves that we bring out, a kind of a frustrative force that we bring out when we are facing an obstacle that is difficult to solve. And what happens is you get a certain type of constructive frustration, okay? That makes you put all your energy into this thing in order to be able to overcome it. So you have a math problem, for example, and it's a difficult problem to solve, and you get angry, right? But you don't blow your mind or anything like that. You get angry in a constructive sense, and you keep applying yourself and keep applying yourself and keep applying yourself until you solve it. After you solve it, you feel happy. This is ghadab. Very important for our development. Very important for progress. Okay? All of the obstacles that we have faced in our lives, that we have overcome, we have used this power, ghadab. But there's another aspect of ghadab that is bad. And that is how you respond to somebody who is becoming an obstacle for you. Because you're trying to teach somebody something and they can't understand, and so you start calling them idiot. You start treating them like a fool. This is ghadab. You have waham about somebody and you don't trust them, okay? And you get angry with them very quickly. This is ghadab. You end up doing something that you might regret. This is ghadab. And so you have to look at those 40 houses down from you and say, in your muhasabah, where I have gone wrong by being angry when I should not have been angry. And how do we deal with anger? The Holy Prophet ﷺ says that if somebody is angry and they are standing, they should sit. If they're angry and they're sitting, they should lie down. This is not necessarily literal. What it means is, when you are angry, do not act. When you are angry, adopt a passive position. Don't speak, don't act until your anger has subsided. And then you speak, and then you act. We, on the contrary, we don't behave like this. When we are angry, we speak in anger. And that speaking in anger is like a release. It is pleasurable. We like it. It feels good. Somebody's bothering you, you curse them off, tell them a bad word. Feels real good. Getting something off your chest. Check it out. When you're angry and you want to speak, and especially if they don't permit you to speak, oh, that anger builds up even more. And then you let them have it. And you hope that you are right. When you find out you were wrong, or there's big regret. So you take care of these things. These are all the deep aspects of what 40 means. So while we're here, we're commemorating the 40th of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What we are commemorating is Imam Hussein alayhi salam on his angelic level. Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the level where he has reached his spiritual maqam. He has left this world. And now he's in a place, he's on a level that he could help us get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without the musibah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we cannot truly love the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. His musibah is like the engine that generates the love that we have for the Prophet. For Allah, that musibah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Because it is very difficult. It is very, very difficult to love a transcendent being. It's very difficult to love God. People say they love God, they don't know what they're talking about. You can't love God. But to love God, you need God's assistance for you to love Him. Because we tend to love people like ourselves. We tend to love in terms of we see something in front of us, that person loves us, we love them back. Right? To be able to love God, you need help. And the help you need is to love those who love God. And in loving those who love God, God gives you that help to be able to love Him. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam is like that. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is on a spiritual level that he could now help all of us 1,000 years or more after that event took place. And this is what Arbaeen means. Give salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family. And this relationship that we have with Imam Hussein alayhi salam is something that we have to cultivate. Reading, for example, Ziyarat al-Ashura on a regular basis, for example, sending salawat on him, always remembering him. These are things that help to bring us higher and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember that the Shia, the true Shia of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are depicted as the leaves on a tree. The trunk of the tree is the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The branches are the Ahlul Bayt, and the leaves, these are hadith, and the leaves of the tree are the Shia. And they said when a Shia is born, a leaf grows on that tree. And when it dies, a leaf falls from that tree. Now when you look at a tree, from its trunk, its branches, and its leaves, you realize that all of them make the tree. That means that we are also part of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You don't have to be a Sayyid to be a member of the Ahlul Bayt. That's a member of the Ahlul Bayt on a bloodline level. We're talking about being members of the Ahlul Bayt on a spiritual level. And this is the reason why the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called Salman a member of the Ahlul Bayt, and Bilal a member of the Ahlul Bayt, and Abu Dhar a member of the Ahlul Bayt, one of the Ahlul Bayt. Because they were among the companions, among the highest of the companions. But it's not restricted to them. Because as these hadith show us, we too could be members of the Ahlul Bayt. How could we be members of the Ahlul Bayt? We could be members of the Ahlul Bayt in our souls. We could be members of the Ahlul Bayt in our sincerity, in our practice, our constant practice to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our love of the Ahlul Bayt. This is the alchemy. This is what makes us God's eyes and God's ears and God's tongue and God's hand and God's feet. You want to know God? You want to know God? That's what you do. And this is no talk. This is not just talk. Right? I'll give you an example. And after this, I want to do a little musibat and we finish. But Hassan looking at me and watching me, when is he going to stop? Give salawat to the Prophet Muhammad. I don't know if you guys probably heard this before or not. I don't know. I don't care. But something I tell everybody, and I always say it because it's so wonderful. I like to share it all the time. Some years ago, many, many years ago, I would say maybe in 1983, 84, something like that, a group of us were going on a trip, just north of Toronto. We were going to the forest. If you know Canada, Canada is a very underpopulated country. We have like 33 million people, one of the biggest countries in the world, so it's got like a lot of virgin territory, So one thing that Canadians do a lot in the summer is go camping. You know, we go camping not to go stay in some lodge or something like that. No, we take our tents and stuff, you know, we go in the woods, man, and we just get natural, you know, right? Near a lake, you can fish in the lake and so forth. Very beautiful. So we went on one of these trips. And like a couple of us were converts, and we were swapping convert jokes, all right? Not jokes, but convert stories, how we became Muslim. And there was one brother there named Salman, right? White brother, he's a teacher, right? Older brother, he was older than all of us. And he told us something very beautiful, how he became a Muslim. He said Muslims came to him and were doing tabligh, right? Trying to convert him to Islam. And they were talking about Tawheed and Nubuwah and so forth. And he found what they were saying very attractive. Very attractive. He never thought about religion like that. Okay? But Salman was a deep guy. Salman was deep. Okay? For some people, that might be enough for them to become Muslim. But he was, well, maybe it's a good talk. Maybe they're good at talking. You know, maybe this might be real. I would like to know about this God. I'd like to know if this God is real before I make a decision. And the only way that I could make a decision is if God talks to me himself. I like that. I like that. If God talks to me himself, if God shows me himself, I'll make a decision. Yes. So he said he was going on a similar camp. When they reached the campsite, it was just about Maghrib. And he was so preoccupied with this thought. And he left his friends and he walked off into the forest. And he was saying, God, if you are the God that these Muslims are talking about and you're real, show me yourself. Show me something. He said it started to get dark. Okay? I know he's in the darkness and he doesn't care. He's walking through the forest and he's crying. His eyes are streaming tears. He's a kafir, brothers and sisters. He's a kafir. The kafir. That's what you call him in fiqh. He's not a Muslim. He's a kafir. I say it with my most emphatic Salafi accent. Kafir. Okay? And he's walking through this najis kafir. Even so, najis kafir, walking through the jungle, walking through the forest, crying, God, show me yourself, show me something, so I can make a decision. And he said, all of a sudden, in the midst of his tears, every tree started to emit a light. Every branch, every leaf, every stone. He said he looked at the lake and he saw the lake was light, and inside the lake, you could see inside the lake, and every creature in the lake was light. And he said this light was growing brighter and brighter, and he started to get scared. He thought the light would envelop him and he'd cease to exist, and his tears turned into laughter. And he said, okay, all right. I accept. And this is how he became a Muslim. Okay? And I took a page out of Brother Salman's book. Right? You know, Allah, Nuru Samawati wal Ard. Allah is showing him, I am the light. Okay? I took a page out of Brother Salman's book. Because when I was in Canada, I do a lot of tabligh among non-Muslims, you know. And I'd always meet somebody who says to me, well, yeah, it sounds like it makes sense, but I'm not convinced. Right? And I tell them, you really want to get convinced? I say, okay, this is what you do. Okay? You get up in the morning before Fajr, before the dawn. It's nice and dark, like how it was for Salman. I say you get on your knees, right, because they're from a Christian background, and this is a sign of humility, and ask that hypothetical God, I want to make a decision. I want you to show me that the decision I'm going to make is right. And I tell you, in all the cases, except one, in all the cases, these people are going to call me back and they will tell me, I never saw a morning so beautiful. When I woke up to do it, I had this sense of somebody else was there and so forth and so on. They all had some kind of special, astounding, surprising event in their lives that led them to convert to Islam. And so we, for example, we have this tool, we call it salah. We have a tool called salah. And the salah is described as what? The mi'raj of the mu'min. It is the upward ascent of the mu'min. How many of us use this tool to its utmost capacity? How many of us? Many of us use this tool just to obey Allah. That's it. I did my duty, Allah. You know, I give myself 5 minutes, get this over and done with, so I can get over and done with my life. Okay? How many of us take this tool in the dead of night, when everybody is sleeping, and you say, Allah, Allah, oh Allah, just like Salman, you're talking to him, you talk to him, oh Allah, you said to use this to come to you at night, okay? I'm doing it. And I want you to love me, and I want to know how you love me. I want to get proof of how you love me. That's sincerity. That's sincerity. And so we should be able to see the light of God. We should be able to see the light of God. We, all of us, should be able to see the light of God in our actions. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, before the event of the fighting, he asked for one night. He asked for a night. And what did he want this night for? Okay? To pray and to read Quran. To pray and to read Quran. Because the Quran is a blessing on your life. A blessing upon your soul. On the day of the fight, the time for prayer came. One of his companions says, "Oh Imam, I think the time of the prayer is here." The Imam says, "May God bless you because you remember the prayer." Not that he forgot. No. But he's congratulating that Muslim that in the midst of all of this tribulation and trials and suffering, right, and fear, that person still remembers the Salah. Our Shias have to be Ahl Salah. Not Ahl Salah because we just pray. No. Ahl Salah in the sense that we use the Salah as the tool to have that mi'raj. As a tool to see that divine light. And I tell you, brothers and sisters, we ain't doing it right if we don't see the light. I'm telling you, we're not doing it right if we don't see the light. We have to see the light. And so in this prayer, we tell God, we ask God, show me the light, show me the truth. When you get to that point, Dawkins and this one and that one, nobody could change your mind because you've seen. You've seen. I met Brother Hassan. After this, I go out there and I said, I met a nice guy named Hassan. And somebody says, "No, I don't believe you." Well, that's your problem. That's not mine. They want to argue intellectually about whether Hassan exists or not. I don't care because I met him. I know him. There's a lot of people who believe in God because God is a very powerful concept. God is a powerful concept. But that's all God is. A concept in the mind. Something wahmi even. Such a powerful concept that we delude ourselves into believing it's real. You could delude yourself into a reality, you know. You could delude yourself into a real thing being real and have your own ideas about that particular thing. And this is why it becomes so difficult or so easy for people to lose their deen eventually. Because they have not met God. You haven't met God. You've got to meet God. You try hard for this. And if you try hard for this, inshallah, you'll meet God and your faith will be strong. Give salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family. I just want to, raise the memory of the people, of you, brothers and sisters, with respect to some of the people who had given their lives on the plains of Karbala. And in these 3 days, I've been trying to think about who I'm going to mention with respect to those people. And tonight, I want to just mention about two very significant young people who gave their lives. And one is Qasim, the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and the other one is Ali Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The two of them had similar characteristics. One of them is that they were very, very beautiful. They were very beautiful young men. You know, Ali Akbar was considered to be the one who had the most likeness to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The closest likeness to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is said that, you know, by the Ahlul Bayt, that any time they wanted to remember the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would look at Ali Akbar. And not only in his features, but in everything. How he walked, how he talked, his akhlaq, his smile, and so on. And you know, it was Qasim, a beautiful young boy. Ali Akbar was about 27 or so. Qasim was only about 13. And after the death of all of the companions, then came the turn of the household of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, starting from the most distant to the most recent. And Qasim, seeing all that transpired, went up to the Imam and asked the Imam for permission to enter the fight. This young 13-year-old boy. The Imam alayhi salam said to him, Qasim, how can I do this? How can I do this when I am the one who is in charge of you? I'm the one who my brother entrusted you to me. Qasim responded, well, you know, if I can't go on the battlefield, then life has no meaning, no sweetness for me. And he goes to his mother and he complains to his mother, and his mother remembers a letter that Imam Hassan alayhi salam had written for Imam Hussein. And she asked Qasim to open the letter and take it to Imam Hussein. And when the Imam Hussein saw the letter says, "O Qasim, a time will come when Hussein needs help, and I want you to represent me on the fight for my brother." And Qasim takes this letter to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein alayhi salam sees it, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself equips Qasim to go out there. It says Qasim is so young, the sword is dragging on the floor, on the ground, while he's going towards the horse. Imam Hussein said to him, you know, you will die in this battle. Qasim says, death to me is sweeter than honey. And Qasim goes out into the battlefield. And he goes out to the battlefield, and Qasim fights very valiantly because he was taught by Hazrat Abbas. Until a time comes when he is surrounded. Indeed, in fact, before that, when he came onto the battlefield, the soldiers looked at his beauty and asked, why is this Karbala Bani Hashim coming out here for us? What a beautiful boy. Because Imam Hassan alayhi salam was quite also a very beautiful man. Anyway, Qasim is surrounded. And there's one soldier who says to himself after he's seeing this young man fight, he says, I will kill this boy. I will make the people on that side very sad. And even though he's surrounded, this man goes up to Qasim and hits him such a heavy blow on the head, it cleaves Qasim's skull. Qasim falls off the horse and he calls out to his uncle, "Oh uncle, come to my aid." Imam Hussein runs after Qasim. He chops off the hand of the man who hit Qasim in the head. By the time he reaches Qasim, Qasim has already passed away. Imam Hussein says, "Oh Qasim, I'm your uncle, and I have not been able to reach to you and to save you at this time. But inshallah, you are free now. You are in paradise and I'll be joining you now." It is said that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was so distraught that he could only drag Qasim back to the tents. It is said that when Imam Hussein was charging at them, the people in their panic, they galloped their horses and their horses rode all over Qasim's body. And so it was very, very difficult to bring Qasim to his mother. Ali Akbar had the same fate. Ali Akbar, the eldest son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, by those people who claim to be the followers of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would want to destroy the only living likeness of this Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was in their midst. You know, when you love somebody, the things that remind you of them, you keep them close to you. You don't want them to be destroyed. If it's a photograph, if it's a recording, whatever it is, you love them so much, you want to keep it close to you. But these people destroyed Ali Akbar, and they were happy to do it. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, wa arwah allati hallat bithina'ik. Alayka minni salamullahi abada ma baqit, wa baqiya al-layl wa nahar. Assalamu ala al-Husayn, wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn, wa ala awlad al-Husayn, wa ala ashab al-Husayn. Salawat.